I saw a headline today that said Ronda Rousey is now considered a joke in MMA. A joke? You're telling me the sort of impact that this woman had on MMA, those are the words that we are going to use to describe Ronda Rousey? A joke. So now Julianna Pena referred to Ronda Rousey as a joke in MMA. And I think that is a grave misstatement. That is a grave error in the way you would describe what Ronda Rousey was and now is as it relates to MMA. So I can sum this up into one very simple word: overrated. One word? Two words? It might be two words. Obviously, over and rated are two separate words, but in this case, they're used as one. So I'm going to say it's one word: overrated. Joke? No. Overrated? Yes. Back when Ronda Rousey. Hold on. Dolly! Hush! And these German shepherds think they have to bark at everything. Squirrel walks by. Woo, 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 woo. Person walks by with their dog up the street. Woo, 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 woo. Bird flies by the window. Woo, 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 woo. Like, jeez, man. Dolly, hey, get in here. So back when Ronda Rousey first came into MMA, this is back when, months before that, Dana White was quoted as saying there will never be women in the UFC. Okay? Women's MMA was brand spanking new, in the sense that there was just very few women who were doing this at that time, and the ones that were on the underground circuits. The time that Ronda Rousey came into the UFC and became this big star, it was almost because, well, here's this cute girl who also looks kind of like a model. I mean, you got to admit that helped. She's pretty hot. And also, she kicked some ass. She was a judo Olympian. This was a rarity. But a joke hardly describes what Ronda Rousey is. Hindsight is 2020. Back then, she was destroying people in less than a round. And what Julianna Pena said was absolutely true. She was a monster. She was destroying everyone. No one could beat her. Everyone was scared of her. But look at the competition she was facing. There was no one who was on the UFC's radar at that time that was even close to being able to handle that level of judo that Ronda Rousey had at that time. But as you guys know, as the sport gets bigger and better, so do the athletes that compete in said sport. Why is Conor McGregor not as dominant now as he was back in 2015 when he was knocking everybody out and no one could beat him? I mean, why did Anderson Silva eventually go down the rabbit hole and began to start having what seemed to be subpar performances? Why is that? Does this show a decline of the fighters themselves? Maybe a little bit. They're getting older. Maybe they got a little comfortable. Maybe they didn't train quite as hard. Or are we seeing an incline and an increase in the talent pool around them? It's a horrible description to describe Ronda Rousey as now a joke in MMA. She was a pioneer in women's MMA. Now, I admit we can look back on it now and say, well, truth be told, she just didn't really have any competition at that time, which is why she looks so extremely dominant. Take her now and put her in with the talent-rich pool of athletes that exist in the UFC now, she doesn't look quite so dominant, right? Perfect example. Ronda Rousey against Holly Holm. Amanda Nunes slept her in less than a round. I mean, the talent pool increased. Ronda Rousey did not. She stayed about the same. The talent pool began to increase, which made it appear that Ronda Rousey was decreasing. I disagree with that. She was not decreasing. The talent pool was increasing. I think we got to be fair to Ronda. For the time period that she was in the UFC, she made a huge impact and she did what she was supposed to do for that time period, and she helped to put women's MMA on the map. For the first time ever, you had little girls wanting to be like her, looking at this, beautiful woman who was also kicking ass in the UFC. She helped to put women's MMA on the map, undoubtedly. Now, can we look back at her now and say, well, she probably wasn't as good as we thought she was back then. She just didn't have any competition. That's true, but I think we need to put more respect on Ronda Rousey's name as being a pioneer for women's MMA and helping to make women's MMA as popular as it is today. Was she overrated? Of course. Was she a joke? Don't think it's fair to qualify her as that or refer to her as that. But with that, I will say that I understand where Julianna Pena is coming from. It was easier back then to break those records. It was easier to gain that sort of notoriety because the competition wasn't as stiff. It's that simple. Overrated? Yeah, absolutely. A joke? That's not fair. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.